Elisha the prophet, disciple of Eliyahu the prophet, who performed many wondrous miracles recorded in the Torah. One of the miracles was that he would travel, like all the prophets did. They would travel from city to city in Israel, inspiring the people. And he would visit a city called Shunamit regularly. It was on his route. And there lived a prominent woman who we refer to as the Shunamit, a woman of Shunem. And he would eat at her house. She was kosher enough for a prophet. And she said to her husband, you know, this holy, godly man comes and goes in our home. It's flighty. Why don't we build him a room in the attic that is his, so that he becomes like a permanent resident in our home, so that the holiness becomes permanent. And so they do, and the next time Elisha comes to Shunem, they invite him to make himself at home in this room that they prepared for him, which he does. Now he asks the Shunamit woman, you've been very kind, you've worried about me, you've provided for me, what can I do for you? Ask for a blessing. And the woman said, I don't need anything, I'm quite content being who I am and living where I live. I'm just a member of my people, I don't need anything special. But she didn't have children. So Elisha says to his attendant, Gehazi, what does she need? Ask for her. Because you have to request a blessing. You got to create a vessel. So Gehazi said, you know, they don't have children. So Elisha calls the woman back and says, this time next year, as sure as you are alive today, you will cuddle a son. The woman said, oh, please, don't lie to me. But she conceived and she gave birth to a son. When the son first went out to the fields with his father when he was a little bit older, he suddenly complained about a headache, and they brought him home to his mother, and the boy passed away. She put him upstairs in the attic on the prophet's bed and told her husband that she's going to visit the prophet. She goes, she comes to where he lived, and she says to him, Did I ask for a blessing? Did I not say, don't tease me, don't lie to me? Elisha followed her back to the house and revived or resurrected the dead child. The moral of the story, not only the ability that a tzaddik has of actually resurrecting a child, but the greatness of this woman, her simplicity, her sincerity, and her strength of character. She never said, the boy died. No, she wouldn't say it. She wouldn't pronounce it or proclaim death because she expected Elisha to resurrect the child. So here's the deeper insight. When the prophet said to her in the blessing, this time next year you will cuddle a son, she wasn't happy with that, with the wording. Cuddle a son? How long do you cuddle a son? What happens when he's too old to cuddle? She said, no, this sounds temporary. I'll have a son for cuddling, but not for long-term life. So Elisha said, no, it'll be long-term. The boy, as soon as he was too old to cuddle, when he went out to work in the fields with his father, died, just as she had suspected. So she comes to Elisha and she says, did I ask for a child? Did I not say, did we not have an agreement that this was not going to be temporary? Because temporary is a lie. Truth is forever. Temporary is false. So Elisha had no choice but to fulfill his promise, and he went and he resurrected the child. See, the same is true with the sacrificing of Yitzchak. Akedas Yitzchak, the binding of Yitzchak. The angel said to Sarah, the angel said to Avraham, this time next year Sarah will have a child. The wording is great. Not cuddle, have a child. Sounds good. But Sarah said, no, she laughed. She said, what kind of blessing is that? If you're giving me the blessing, then talk to me. But you're telling Avraham that I will be blessed. That's not how blessings work. So either tell Avraham that he's going to have a son, or talk to me and tell me that I'm going to have a son. But telling Avraham that I'm going to have a son sounds temporary. No thanks. Make it long term and we got a deal. So the angel promises. Is anything impossible to God? When the time comes, I will return to Avraham and Sarah will have her son. So what happens? Yitzchak is 37 years old and God says you have to bring him up as a sacrifice on the altar. Avraham goes to do what he's told. In the last minute, an angel comes and says, no, don't do it. Avraham says, who are you? God told me to do something. Where do you come into the picture? And the angel said, don't you recognize me? I'm the one who told you you're going to have a son. And Sarah made me promise that he would live long, so I can't let you do it. Now, when Sarah heard that the angel had fulfilled his agreement and kept his part of the promise, then she could die in peace. But before she could be sure that her son was going to live, she would not die. So the similarity of the two stories, two women who understood how a blessing works and lobbied for their child even before the child was conceived.
Thanks for watching. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell below for daily pearls of Jewish wisdom.